Donald Trump, you're asking Americans to trust you with their future. Let me ask you, have you even read the United States Constitution? I will gladly lend you my copy.
When Khizr and Ghazala Khan immigrated to the United States in the 80s, they never expected their voices would trigger a political storm during the 2016 presidential election. I'm Femi OK.
And I'm Malika Bilal. When Republican candidate Donald Trump called for a ban on Muslims and questioned the patriotism of people practicing Islam, the Pakistani parents of a fallen US soldier were called to action, relaying how their son, US Army Captain Humayun Khan, was killed trying to protect his troops from a suicide bomber. Khizr Khan took aim at Trump and declared that patriotism is not based on faith, gender, or race, but of love of country.
Have you ever been to Arlington Cemetery? Go look at the graves of brave patriots who died defending United States of America. You will see all faiths, genders, and ethnicities. You have sacrificed nothing and no one.
That emotional speech put Trump on the defensive, and he retaliated on Twitter. His attack on the parents of an American hero has drawn the ire of some Republicans and made the Khans the centre of news coverage for the last 2 weeks. The Khans are joining us today. Khizr joins us right here in our studio, and his wife Ghazala is Skyping in from their home in Charlottesville, Virginia.
And we're also joined by two guests who say they've been empowered by the Khans. In Carson City, Nevada, military mom Catherine Byrne, whose son is a staff sergeant in the U.S. Air Force. And in Chicago, Tayyip Rashid, who's a Muslim and veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps. Welcome, everyone.
So, Mrs. Ghazala Khan, I am thinking back to when you were not Mrs. Ghazala Khan, when you were a young woman and you first met Khizr. Can you remember that first time?
Well, I do remember that too. First time I saw him, I thought he is my professor.
Why did you think that?
Because we have hosted some Iranians, and I was the host and arranging everything. And then I saw one person, everybody was coming and giving some speech. So one person came there and he talked to and very good Persian. So I thought he is our professor.
So was he a good speaker then, Ghazala? Was he a commanding speaker?
Pardon?
Was he a good speaker? Did he give a good speech, good talk?
Yeah, he always has very good voice.
Yes.
And always he has very good thoughts to say. I'm really proud of him. At that time I was that he is my professor. But
well, I really want to start. Sorry to jump in here, but there are two veterans with us today. I want to salute them. I want to salute for their service, for their courage. Catherine and
mom and a daughter.
Wonderful. You both have won our hearts. Catherine, when you stood up there, believe me, I don't know whether people have told you that or not, you became the embodiment of courage around all the booing and all the noise and all that. And I assure you, when this all noise is over, you will think back and you will say, wow, what a courage it took for Catherine to stand up and say what you wanted to say. That is all this whole political process and discourse is all about, having the courage to say the thing at the right time, at the right moment.
All right, so there were so many stories to be told today, stories from my guests, and so I'll come up with Catherine's story in just a moment. But going back to your story, Mr. Khan, at what point did you realise, I'm going to take my young, lovely wife and my youngsters to America?
Yeah, I wanted to complete my education. I had done my basic law degree and I wanted to further my education to come to the United States and study here. I've been a student of comparative constitutional law. I had studied various constitutions, and United States Constitution was my favorite. So that is what we discussed, that she will accompany me, my family, my 2 children will accompany me, and we will come to United States.
So from that first meeting to getting married to moving to the US, you raised 3 boys. There's a video comment here we got from Khizr Siddiqui. I want Mr. and Mrs. Khan to have a listen to what he said.
Hi, my name is Khizr Siddiqui, and I am a recent Pakistani immigrant to the United States, and I have a question for Mr. and Mrs. Khan. Mr. and Mrs. Khan, Assalamu alaikum. I was wondering, how did you raise your children and instill the patriotism of the US and also keeping their Pakistani cultural roots? As a father of Pakistani American children myself, I would love to hear what you have to say. Thank you very much.
Well, the credit goes to Ghazala. Children are, especially Captain Humayun Khan, is exact embodiment of Ghazala. The raising of children, she had just done marvelous, wonderful job. I was there only to give them $10 whenever they would read a good book.
So what kind of dad were you? Who was the disciplinarian? Was it Ghazala? Was it you?
It was all Ghazala.
Really?
I was kind of.
You were were you kind?
Too busy, of course.
Oh.
You know, of course, very kind, but she was the one that really groomed them into caring, loving, decent human beings. So all credit goes to her. I was just simply there making my living and working hard, as we all do.
And dishing out dollars to the kids.
Yeah, that was a technique that we used, and Ghazala is witness to that, that whenever there would be a good book that I will find it, I will bring it home. And I'll say, whoever reads it gets $10. But not only just reads it, but tells me what is in it. So that became the encouragement for children to read books, and I would always bring certain books at home with an intention that it will impact their thinking, it will impact how they think about the country, about their role in society and all of that. So,
Ghazala, I have to say, you make very handsome children. Let me introduce you to some of them, and then, of course, you know Humayun by reputation. So this is your eldest here, and then we have Humayun, of course, which is the reason we're all here, and then we have Omar. So when you think about them as little boys together, what's the story that you remember about them all playing together? It's the one that sticks out.
Umar is very young than Shahryar and Humayun. They are 10-year difference.
Right.
So Humayun and Shahryar were very close, 1 year difference, so they both were very close.
Yeah.
And in school, in home, they were always together. And watching TV, playing together, and I was always with them. Even if they have to go to their friend's house, I will go with them. And they both have to go together in their house. So they were very close, and I was very close with all my 3 sons. Every time, every night, every minute they spent with me, they knew that we cannot do anything to hurt mom. And anything means going out, coming late, staying with friends. They never did. The elder, both of them, they were too close, and they didn't need any friends. But still, Shahryar have some friends. They used to come home. I will cook for them. I will keep them there at night. I will go take them. I won't let them walk. I will take them to drop their houses.
Whenever we would go to visit friends or relatives, the children there would want both of them to come and play, and they would hide behind Ghazala and sit there and play with one another and talk to one another. They were buddies. They were kind of inseparable friends and brothers, of course. And Omar became their toy because Omar
he was the little one, the little cute one. Oh,
so they will put makeup on him and put different kind of clothes on him and put lipstick on him and all of that. And he will be just so beyond himself.
I think they wanted a little sister, perhaps.
Exactly.
Let me share this with you. I'm going to play Karen Meredith, and she was talking to a US network called ABC not so long ago. And she was talking about what you, Ghazala and Khizr, did on stage at the DNC. Have a listen to this.
There's two things you can say to a Gold Star mother. You say, I'm sorry, or I'm very sorry. I don't know that he has the capability of understanding what it is to lose a child. I haven't cried in a long time about my son, and I hate to admit it. I hate to give him that much power over me, but I cried because it was so painful.
So that's Karen Meredith talking about reaction to Donald Trump, talking about your DNC speech.
Yeah, she is, asked Ghazala, there are 2 boxes full of mail, of love and care and similar sentiments. I have received emails from the most distinguished legal scholars. They said that during the speech, we stood up when you started to speak, we were listening, and the moment you got close to the Constitution, we were standing. We appear in front of the Supreme Court justices on daily basis. We have never had tears in our eyes because of the sentiment and the genuineness that we felt. And they fully comprehended what was being said when I was waving the Constitution. It wasn't just the words and those gestures and all that. There is so much behind it, what I was addressing at that time. And it has been just pouring of love and support and similar sentiments. One sentiment that is common throughout this, whenever I go on, and Ghazala is with me when we step outside, people come and shake hands, give us hugs and talk to us. There is one thing common in everybody, old, young, all ethnicities. They have tears in their eyes because we have touched these hearts. And during the program, I'll tell you the reason what
this is the program. Hold tight for a moment.
This is what caused us to do this.
Ghazala, is this what Khizr's like at home? Let's hold tight for a moment, because I want Malika to get in there, because people want to talk to you like they talk to you in the street when they meet you. Go ahead.
Well, I'm actually glad that you mentioned what happens to you when you go out in the streets, because that's actually an answer to this question we got on Twitter. Armand says, what has been the public's response to your family since the DNC? So you explained that response. Catherine, you were part of that response that our community member here is talking about. Khizr mentioned it a little bit earlier in the show. I know we have a video of it, but you wanted to explain before we set up the video what was going through your head before you went to a rally of the vice presidential candidate for the Republican side.
I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to be in a place where I can ask a question like that directly to our vice president, a candidate for vice presidency. It's enough is enough with Donald Trump. So I don't even reach out to Mr. Trump. I reach out to the people that are supporting him and asking why. Why are they supporting him? And I was just very fortunate to get the opportunity. I had the day off. I was talking with friends at a house party the day before, so I felt very prepared. I read the question over and over again. I was just very, very focused on the issue of how do you support something.
So this was the thought process, the build up, and then let me show our audience what happened after you kind of psyched yourself up to go to this rally. Have a look at this.
And I am a military mom. My son is currently serving in the US Air Force.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
My question for you, Mr. Pence, is time and time again, Trump has disrespected our nation's armed forces and veterans, and his disrespect for Mr. Khan and his family is just unacceptable. Will there ever be a point in time when you're able to look at Trump in the eye and tell him enough is enough?
Well, I thank you for the question. It's all right. It's all right. Folks, that's what freedom looks like, and that's what freedom sounds like, okay? Let me just say, first, I want to honor your son's service to the country and your family's service to the country. I truly do, man.
So, Catherine, that was the moment where Khizr was saying it gets better, and when he was thanking you at the very beginning of the program, that's why he was thanking you. What does one military mum want to say to another military mum? What would you like to say to Ghazala?
I'm almost speechless. What would I say to her? How much I respect her courage, and I can't imagine what you go through some days. I really have a main question for you, and well, I have two, but one of my main questions is, what did you, during, when your son decided to enroll or enlist in the Army, it was the Army, right? Is that right? The Army? It was
Yes,
Army.
yes.
And when he made that decision to enlist, how did the family react, and how did you personally feel about it?
As every mom, I think I didn't like him going in the Army, and I told him, Humayun, Army is little dangerous. So have you understood what Army is? Said Mom. Mm-hmm. I met every day my friends. They are in ROTC. They are very disciplined, very smart by mind. Their minds are very strong. I think I am one of them.
Yes.
And I linked with them. So I have to, and it's just for 4 years. After ROTC, I'm just giving 2 years, and then I'm done. And he was supposed to come back that year. That was his end of the.
I want.
I think that my courage began when he enlisted. That's when our bravery and our courage began.
Wonderful.
It's just been every day since then, so it's just another day of bravery.
Just a footnote to Ghazala's comment. Captain Humayun Khan and I had conversation about this, his decision, and he felt that he was in his element. When he would meet with the cadets, when he would sit and attend classes, he told me that I feel as if the honor, the dignity, their treatment of each other, their treatment of others and families and friends, it was just his element. And we told him, whatever you want to do your best. And he held that.
That's a perfect segue, Mr. Khan. It's a perfect segue, actually. I'm going to bring you in here, Tayyip, because we got a tweet here. Ali Qazi says, I want to know what your message to young Muslims thinking of joining the armed forces would be. Tayyip, this is perfect for you. Your experience and how that relates to the story you heard of Humayun Khan.
Yeah, so let me first just start off by saying that I am absolutely honored to be joined by Catherine and Mr. and Mrs. Khan. And I thank you so much for your courage and bravery. And what I guess listening to Mr. and Mrs. Khan describing their family and where they've come from and their entire life, it's very similar to my own. I have 2 younger brothers. We are Pakistani. We immigrated here back in 1987, and I decided to enlist in the Marine Corps. And my mother reacted very similarly to how Ms. Ghazala Khan just described, her reaction. And my father was very similar to how Mr. Khan, is describing the conversation between himself and Captain Humayun. So, my father was instrumental and actually a huge fan of me joining the military. But his first thing that he asked me when I shared with him that I was thinking about enlisting in the military was he wanted to understand the reasons why. And my reasons had to do more with the fact that I wanted to feel like I belonged and that I had a right to be in this country and that my family had a right to be in this country. Because let's face it, as immigrants, sometimes because you're an immigrant, people look down on you for whatever reason. I mean, I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. It's just the way that it is. And I wanted to serve my nation because that is what Islam requires. Islam requires loyalty to the residence where that Muslim is living. And so my loyalty is with the United States. And I would say that any young Muslim that is currently thinking about enlisting in the military, my advice to them would be to really, think over this very, very important decision, because once you sign that dotted line, understand that your utmost loyalty 100%
Tayyip,
is to this nation.
What would you advise them could do it again, you'd do it again or not?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I
Okay.
would do it again because, again, I think this is, look, we're living in the United States. We are beneficiaries of all the freedoms and the rights that this country affords us. And it is our responsibility to serve in any way that we can.
Sure.
And myself and Humayun Khan felt that our best way to serve the country was by joining the military.
Okay.
So I fully support Muslims actually enlisting and contributing.
Guess so much to talk about, and our audience want to talk to you too. Malika.
Well, I mean, this segues really well with what you were saying, Tayyip. You're not the only one who's a Muslim who sees service in the armed forces as a role for them. This is a video comment we got from someone named Tariq Yunus, who's also a veteran, talking about someone who passed away. Have a look.
This tree represents Ayman Taha, who was killed in action around the same time your son was killed, and he's also a Muslim soldier. Just like representing many other ethnic backgrounds, religious backgrounds here, the Special Forces. His family is from Sudan, and they built a medical facility in Sudan in honor of their son. And I'd like to know how you like your son to be remembered, and are you going to build some kind of foundation for him?
We always, and Ghazala will second that after we pay visit to Captain Humayun Khan, Ayman Taha is about 2 rows down, so we always go there. At every occasion we are there to offer our prayers there, and there are several other Muslims in the same section, and we go to their sites and all that. They're our sons and daughters as well. The previous conversation that you were having about joining military, to keep and show your patriotism, of course that is the best form. Join the armed forces, but one doesn't have to join the armed forces. One could be as patriotic as in armed forces if you carry the care for your fellow citizen and be the good citizen of this country and be as concerned about the safety and security of this country in your private capacity. So the mission that Ghazala and I have taken henceforth, that we are talking to young Americans and all that, we are turning them into ambassador of good citizenship. Doesn't matter where you live in some other country, some other place, be the good citizen of that country, be responsible for your community, for your home, be part of the solution instead of complaining and griping. And Ghazala will agree with me that the reception that we received together when we went to this convention, what a wonderful agreement from the entire youth of that gathering.
So let me show you this, because I'm not sure if you've seen this. This is made by Shahed Amanullah, and this came out just after you were on the DNC stage. And it's Uncle Sam here. I want you to read the US Constitution. There are people taking selfies with you, and you are all over the place. So the question is, there's also a little crowdsource here that's people raising money for you to run for public office.
Wow.
Would you do it? Not that I want to put you on the spot, but I will. Would you do it?
As long as I get to do what Ghazala and I have decided to do, that is to prepare the next generation to be the leaders of this country and leaders in the world, not only here, but in the world.
Ghazala, are you ready to be a politician's wife? Are you ready?
Well, if he can change the word and
she'll quietly throw me out of the house.
Hold on a minute. Ghazala, when you say it again, I didn't quite hear your response. Are you ready to be a politician's wife?
I think as long as he and myself have chance to do what we have started, to finish, to bring everyone together, I don't mind whatever he is doing. I'm his wife and I'm supporting him.
Okay.
May I ask a question here? Jump in.
Very quickly. You've got 1 minute left. Go ahead, Tayyip. Fast.
Sure,
Go for
Mr. Khan. Mr. Khan, a question for you, and I'm sure you might have experienced this, but being a Muslim, an American Muslim in the military, can sometimes be somewhat, similar.
Tayyip, ask the question. We've got 45 seconds for an answer. What's the question?
How do you manage that situation where there may be some colleagues or some relatives who don't support your decision to join the military?
It's got to be a one-sentence answer. Sorry about that.
I have received overwhelming support. A regiment has been named after Captain Humayun Khan in support of that. From veterans, I have received nothing but acceptance and support, and and congratulations and holding hands and giving us
Khizr
all
Khan,
the
Ghazala Khan, Catherine Byrne, Tayyab Rashid, our online audience, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. What is in your inside pocket, Mr. Khan?
Well, I don't have it with me today.
No.
I always carry
All
it
right.
with me. At our home, there is a stack
All
of these
right.
constitutions.
We'll have to go to his house. Thank you very much for being part of this conversation. We will continue online. #AJStream. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.